Well, hello, Finn. Welcome to my show. You're probably wondering why I invited you on.
I know exactly why you've invited me on.
Oh, why's that?
You've read the Canberra Battery Test Centre reports 10 and 11, so these guys don't have to.
That's right. They were big reports. I read them all, except the index.
So what have you learned about Australian home battery performance and reliability, Ronald? Let us know.
Well, they recently had their third round of testing. They took 8 batteries, tested them hard, and 25% worked as they were supposed to.
25%.
2 batteries worked as they were supposed to. So that is, they installed them, they worked no problem. Other batteries had some problems, but they got them going after some difficulty, and now they're working fine. Other batteries have more serious problems.
So just to be clear, the phase 3 testing is a new batch of 8 batteries that have undergone accelerated testing.
That's right.
And only 2 of them have worked so far without failure.
Yes, that is very unfortunate.
So home batteries in Australia, or in the world, Australia's pretty much leading the race to install batteries in people's homes, is an emerging industry.
Yes, that's
This
right.
is new. Although batteries have been around forever, sticking large multi-kilowatt-hour batteries in people's homes is a pretty new thing. And what we are seeing is we're not there yet on reliability.
That's right. Especially for the newer systems, which were new for the most part in this latest round of testing. So you can expect more problems at that point. When you've had a couple of years to work bugs out of the system, you're more likely to have a battery that works. But even people who've been installing batteries for years are still having problems. There are still recalls, there are still issues with batteries years down the line.
Okay, so spill the beans. Which batteries performed flawlessly from the latest batch?
Okay, there's the Fimmer, which is a lithium battery that performed the best of all the lithium batteries. And then there's the Sonnen, yes, a Swedish battery, but that's not lithium, it's molten salt. It's 250 degrees inside.
Got a box that stays at 250 degrees inside while it's charged.
That's right.
So that's not a lithium-ion battery.
No.
That's interesting, and that works well.
That works very well.
The
no
crazy
problem.
melted salt shit works
Yes,
reliably.
It works reliably, and it doesn't lose capacity according to the manufacturer over time.
So the only lithium-ion battery that performed faultlessly was the FIMA or FEMA or whatever it's now called. Used to be called ABB.
Yes.
Changed the name to FIMA or FEMA.
Yes, that's right. And the Power Plus Energy works okay.
Why only okay for the Power Plus? I've heard good things about Power Plus from off-grid installers at least.
It's had a little more degradation than the Fimmer, so.
Okay.
But I'd say those two for the lithium are on top. BYD works well now, but they had 2 problems setting it up. So if you're just going by, did it work as it was supposed to? Was it installed on day 1? They got it going, no problems. No, BYD didn't manage to do that. Some other issues with other batteries, falling capacity and communication problems. So with DCS and SolarX and Sonnen, they both all had problems. Either they weren't able to get as much power out of the battery as they're supposed to. So that's one issue. Surprising one was Sonnen had problems. So it's an expensive battery, but you'd expect it to be reliable. It's a German battery. They have a reputation for being
Sonnen
German.
absolutely pride themselves on their engineering.
Yes. So it was working well, but then its capacity started to decline. So a Sonnen person came, removed the module, reported back there's one battery cell in that module that was faulty. But the replacement module, it improved the performance, but the same problem started happening. So it looks like the issue is not just with that module. They say they will fix it, but apparently it was delayed due to COVID. So
I'm not seeing a lot of pluses for Sonnen as a battery.
Well, it is pricey, so
It's expensive. It's massive. The power out of the thing is pretty pathetic. 2.5 kilowatts last time I checked. Now they're having problems.
Yes. I'm not
They're hard
saying
to talk to.
I'm not saying anything
Not just the company, the battery.
I'm not saying anything bad about Sonnen. But if you want to, you can mention it had the lowest round trip efficiency of all the batteries.
There's that too.
Lithium batteries they tested.
And what was the round trip efficiency?
80%.
Yeah, that's pretty poor.
Yes.
I'm not seeing a lot of pluses for Sonnen personally.
Well, that's your opinion, and I'm not saying a damn thing.
So what other batteries had major problems in the latest round of testing? The Sonnen?
Okay, Zenergy, they were unable to get any good information from it, so they...
Zenergy. That's the really interesting kind of black tubular batteries.
Yes, with a 20-year warranty, provided you meet the warranty conditions and keep it at the right temperature.
Which might be fairly hard in Australia.
Yeah, but if you got the right place to install it, it's not too onerous.
So Zenergy is an interesting one because they initially said use this inverter with it, the SMA,
Yep.
Sunny Island.
Sunny Island, that's right.
And then they took that back and said, oh, no, actually we've decided you can't use that inverter with our battery anymore.
Yes, it's no longer on their recommended list of compatible inverters, so that is an issue.
That's not a great look.
Yes, no, it's not. Well, it's terrible. But a lot of batteries have this problem where there's not a direct communication link between the inverter and the battery, and you only get that when the inverter is basically made, the battery and the inverter are made to work together.
Yes, that's as an ex-control systems engineer who's actually written a book on closed-loop feedback control. I'm a big fan of being able to talk to the thing you're controlling.
Yes, so...
I personally can't see how it would work reliably without that. Batteries like Power Plus, which have a great reputation in the off-grid world. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't understand how that can be a good system if you haven't got a direct means of communication between the battery inverter and the battery. You're essentially relying on open loop or sensing stuff externally, and from a technical point of view, that seems very suboptimal to me. So what else did you learn from reading reports 10 and 11 from the Canberra Battery Test Centre, Ronald?
I think people are basically being used as unpaid beta testers a lot of the time for batteries. Consumers, yes. So they told, hey, we have a great battery and it's not really ready for prime time. It's not ready for the market because we have a huge problem rate as we see. Now, I will say that the problem with the Canberra Battery Test Centre is they can only afford to test one of each battery. So if one battery has problems, it could just be bad luck for that battery. There could be 99 others out there in the world which work perfectly. We can't say for certain. But when 6 out of 8 batteries that tested in the latest round have problems, it's a clear sign that the industry as a whole is putting out too many substandard batteries.
And just to be clear, they're having problems under accelerated testing.
Yes,
that's an
another
important
point.
word.
But accelerated testing, I think your main problems would crop up, if there are problems, with charge and discharge and degradation of the battery. It could, technically, you'd say, you look at the rate at which capacity is lost from the batteries, and you can say, would that do that in real life? Because you're going to be charging and discharging them less rapidly in real life. It might not be as bad.
So if you own a home battery in Australia, any manufacturer, and you've got a warranted capacity after 10 years, should you be confident that your battery will get there?
If you have a battery installed now, I'd say there's a good chance it won't get there. If you have something like Powerwall 2, they might try to fiddle with the software to try and extend its life to get you to that point with that capacity.
Speaking of the Powerwall 2, how's that been going in all this testing?
Okay, they had problems with it originally. The original one they had was replaced, but now it seems to be working fine.
So anecdotally, I'm hearing from installers that the early Powerwall 2 installs, there were quite a few issues, but most of those issues seem to be ironed out now, and most Powerwall 2s out there are running very well in terms of reliability. What their capacity is, I'm not sure anyone's actually testing that at the moment, but the Teslas are looking very good.
Yeah, I think, you see, the problem is all home battery manufacturers have these huge problems, lots of hassles early on. A big company like Tesla, they've gone through their rough patches at the beginning. But every time a new company comes along, it's a new set of rough patch to get through.
Let's talk about another big company while we're on big companies. LG Chem.
Yes.
They've had two
try
different
hard.
models of batteries in the battery test centre.
They've had problems with failures, and they've had problems with battery capacity deteriorating relatively quickly.
And they've also had a recall in Australia.
And they've had a recall. But I happen to know that they've got a lot of engineering talent. They do a lot of good work. They try hard. They produce what should be good systems, but even they find it very difficult. So this says to me, even a giant company, all the talent in the world, is going to have huge problems in this area. It takes a lot of effort to get it right.
Right, so what do you say to people that read this, and we've had a few comments, Ha! Told you batteries don't work, they'll never work, renewables are doomed, the battery's the only thing that make renewables work, this whole renewable powered grid is a load of horse shit, and this is the proof. Thanks, Ronald, for pointing that out to us. Let's get back to coal, gas.
Right, I think that they need to go to their mothers and say, why didn't you hug me enough when I was a child? Because they got issues. I would say to them, you're loony.
But the batteries aren't working. Like, most of the batteries are failing.
Yeah, okay, batteries
This is bad.
work. We've got a big battery in South Australia, the Hornsdale Power Reserve, often called the Tesla Big Battery. We've got an even bigger one now in Victoria. So we know batteries can work. And we know big batteries can work. We know that if you buy something like a Powerwall 2, BYD, LG Chem, usually I would have said Sonnen as well, usually.
I'm sure Sonnen will do the right thing if something goes wrong.
Yeah, Sonnen will do, if you buy one of them, it'll probably work. You'll probably have no problems. If it does have a problem, and you've got it from a big manufacturer, and you got it from a reliable installer who does the right thing and turns up whenever there's a problem, then yeah, it'll probably be mostly hassle-free. You've still got a big chance that there'll be something wrong early on. They'll have to come in and adjust it or fix it. It's a new product, and it'll probably be a couple of years before they're just in and they work 99% of the time.
It's newish technology. We'll get there. These companies are smart. They will make them much, much, much more reliable. I've had a Powerwall 2 for, I think, just over 4 years, and it's never missed a beat. But of course, these guys are doing accelerated testing, so they're trying to break these batteries, really, which is good. This is what we want to see. So it's good that the renewables industry in Australia is actually trying really hard to break these batteries, because that's only going to help the reliability when they close the loop on that with the manufacturers.
Yes, and any battery which gets puts a battery in for testing, that's great. So Zenergy, I trust them more for putting a battery in for testing than if they hadn't wanted to test it.
Yeah,
even though this battery has had huge problems at the test centre.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Why are electric cars so reliable these days, and home batteries appear to be struggling a little?
Okay, electric cars have to work because one, otherwise people wouldn't buy them. That's the main hurdle. Two, electric car batteries are put under a lot less cycles than a home battery. So many years ago, this guy, you may have heard of him, Elon Musk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's sort of a crazy tech dude bro. Anyway, he said, this Powerwall 1 I'm making will work for 10 years. It'll have a 10-year warranty. So everyone that sort of said, okay, well, 10 years is now the standard. And at that time, batteries were not ready. Well, some batteries were ready for 10 years, but most of the industry wasn't. So 10 years of daily cycling, that's 3,625. We've got leap years. So that's a lot of cycles they have to manage. And a lot of batteries have problems. Here are 10 batteries that have been cycled at least 1,000 times at the Canberra Battery Test Centre, showing their remaining capacity after 10 years of daily cycling. So as you can see, we've got the Sony Fortiline, brilliant battery, 79%, one of the first batteries they tested. So years ago, we had a lithium battery, which was reliable, durable, only degrades in capacity slowly. Great battery, great battery. And then we've got others which, well, this one is at 0% because you can't go negative. Others which haven't done as well. So basically after 10 years, you're wanting 60% plus capacity after 10 years of daily cycling. And only half of these, which were cycled over 1,000 times, we have decent information for, are on track. I will point out this is just an extrapolation for most of these. It's assuming they will continue to lose capacity in a linear way. The only one which is really a real life is the Sony Fortaline, was done so well for so long, it's nearly at 10 years of daily cycling simulated.
That is fantastic. I'm going to go out and buy some. Where do I get them from?
Yeah, not available in Australia anymore.
Why?
I don't know, they're so good, only people overseas can buy them.
Oh.
I have no idea, we'll have to ask Sony.
Okay, so you get to 10 years, your warranty's about to run out.
Yep.
How do you actually know what the capacity of your battery is?
It'll tell you.
Will it?
Depends on the battery. Your Powerwall will tell you, doesn't it?
No.
Oh my god.
There's no easy way to see what the remaining capacity of the Powerwall is. There is in my car, there is.
Yep.
But in the battery, unless I'm missing something, I can't think of. It's not obvious how many kilowatt hours it's storing.
That's pretty lousy.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of apps for monitoring batteries. I can't think of any that explicitly show you how many kilowatt hours of capacity is left.
Yes, because obviously Tesla's a pretty smart company. If you can't tell, if it won't tell you its remaining capacity, it's because they don't want you to know.
Yeah, because they know how many kilowatt hours have gone in and how many kilowatt hours have come out.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I'm missing something there. I'm gonna dig through the latest app and see if I can find it. But I suspect you're right.
Yes. So if you have a hybrid battery, then your inverter can estimate how much capacity is remaining, and you can try to measure it for yourself.
If anyone here has a home battery and an app that tells you the remaining capacity of your battery and how much it's degraded, let us know in the comments, because that'd be marvellous.
Yeah, so you're protected by Australian Consumer Guarantee, so if your battery degrades too far, too much, you're entitled to a repair, replacement, or refund. Your refund after, if you get to 9 years and it's below what it should be, they're going to say it's going to be a pro rata refund. You know, you're not going to get a new free battery, I'm afraid, but you're still entitled to a battery which does what it's supposed to.
So what do you say to someone watching this? They're really keen to get a battery,
yeah,
because they want to, be part of the energy revolution. Lots of reasons, good reasons to get a battery.
Yep.
But they've read your blog post, and now they're a bit worried about, not sure they should get a battery. What do you say to them?
Okay, yeah, be concerned things can go wrong, because that can happen. So don't spend money you can't afford to lose. But if you get a good battery from a manufacturer with a proven track record, you get it installed by a good installer, someone with good customer service when there's a problem, who will get on top of it and fix it, that week or very, very soon. You don't want someone who'll put you off. You've got to check those reviews, see how they behave when someone has a problem.
These battery companies are still learning as they go. I mean, Tesla's just announced it shipped 250,000 Powerwall 2s.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of batteries to
Sounds like they've got it right.
Yep, that's probably why they're so reliable these days. If you have a Powerwall that's failed recently, again, let us know in the comments, because the amount of problems with Powerwall seems to have decreased to almost nothing over the past year, I'd say, anecdotally. But if you have problems with Powerwall 2, let us know. But they're learning as they go. This is a relatively new technology. They are used very differently to car batteries. They are slightly different to car batteries. They're packaged different to car batteries. But just so be aware, there may be teething problems. There are guarantees on what the capacity will be, but think about how you're going to actually know what the capacity is at the end of the 10 years. And be aware that you're part of this learning experience, but you're also helping pave the way for almost every home in Australia at some point, hopefully, to have a battery, which will make a huge contribution to a 100% or close to 100% renewables grid.
Yes, I'm very optimistic about batteries, always have been. People don't believe me for some reason. I see no reason why most homes can't benefit from having a relatively low cost, extremely reliable and extremely safe battery in their homes.
So just to clear something up before we go.
Yes.
You're that Ronald Brackles that hates batteries, aren't you? This seems to be the reputation some people have given you.
Right, yeah. Because I have this small particle in my head, which makes me, occasionally look at reality and say, what appears to be going on in the real universe. Yeah, I can get a reputation for not being 100% optimistic. So I'm only 99% optimistic. So, but yeah, they'll get there.
Ronald Brackles, ladies and gentlemen, despite what you may have heard, he's a big fan of batteries.
That work.